I literally ate everything.
I know that you're going to tell us you ate a wheel of brie.
I ate so much bread. I'm 97% gluten. Okay, let's go. Get cracking.
Hey, let's get cracking. Welcome if you're listening to the Daily Beast podcast. I'm Joanna Coles, Chief Content Officer of the Daily Beast.
And I am Samantha B., and I am the Chief Content Officer of the Daily Beast Principals Committee Side Chat War Room Signal Leak. Is that cool? We're okay with that now?
That's very cool. There are a few people on here that we're not expecting. I don't know who they are, but who cares?
No consequences whatsoever. Don't worry about it.
I mean, you've been out of the country, Sam, and we've had an insane security leak. We are going to be talking to our executive editor, Hugh Doherty, about it.
Yes, please.
The signal heard around the world, as I think we should refer to it. We'll also be talking about SLOTUS. That's Usha Vance. It sounds like a slur, but it stands for the Second Lady of the United States. And of course, we catch you up on our jet-setting ways. You're just back from Paris.
I am back from Paris. I took my 14-year-old daughter for a mommy-daughter trip to a very beautiful city, and we ate our way through it, and it was fantastic. And I was really thinking about SLOTUS and thinking when I got off the plane and I read that, I was like, I feel like that's something that you would drunkenly scrawl on the satin sash at a bridesmaid's party. You would make the bride wear it. She'd be like, I'm the SLOTUS. And then you would go drink hurricanes in New Orleans. I don't know.
Well, and of course, Nell Scovell's great story this week that when she announced her SLOTUS with her first video, she was in front of a bookshelf. What she didn't realize was that she had a book behind her, which was by a vice president, but it wasn't her husband, J.D. Vance's Hillbilly Elegy. It was, in fact, a book by Al Gore proclaiming the urgency of climate change.
Well, maybe the book wasn't a real book. Maybe it was like hollowed out and filled with God only knows. So I don't know.
I guess the question is, was it a sign? Was she trying to tell us that she believes in climate change? Was it just the carelessness of her team who really aren't paying attention? What did it mean?
I'm starting to get the feeling that a lot of the teams are careless, and Hugh's going to tell us more about that, but I would pretty much attribute almost anything to carelessness at this point. Carelessness would be my go-to.
The cock-up, not the conspiracy. All right.
That's right.
In the download, we're going to be talking to Steve Hilton, who is the author of the new book, Califailure, and as far as I can see, the only Fox News host who's yet to be pulled in by Trump as part of his cabinet. And, of course, our beast of the week, one of the co-hosts of the very funny Have I Got News for You on CNN, Amber Ruffin.
Love her.
I feel like we should get straight to it with
Let's
Hugh
do
Doherty.
it.
Yeah, you've been out of the country. I feel like Hughie can bring you up to speed on all the chaos, all the madness, and then he can tell us how much we're going to pay for Greenland. Hughie, welcome. Welcome.
Hi, Hugh.
Sam, welcome back. Joanna,
Thank
you for
you.
having me in this private signal chat. Me, you, thousands of others, maybe the Chinese, maybe the Russians, everybody here is welcome. Just
Oh my
like
God.
the Houthi private signal group was open to all.
Oh my God.
So this story seems so extraordinary that it really felt like a setup that they couldn't really have invited. We couldn't have had a cast of Trump's cabinet inviting the editor of The Atlantic, Jeffrey Goldberg, to a private signal chat about an attack that was about to happen.
Joanna, absolutely. Among the people that couldn't believe that this was happening was Jeffrey Goldberg himself, who thought it must be a hoax. And that's a word that you often hear Trump using. But he thought maybe it was a hoax, or maybe he was being fished in some way by foreign intelligence. And he has given an account of this, of course, I think, has now been heard by millions, that he was sitting in a supermarket car park wondering if what he had read in the group chat was going to happen. And he looked on Twitter and realized that the bombing of Yemen that they'd been talking about was literally happening just as they had predicted. And that's when he realized he hadn't been spoofed. He really had been dragged into a group chat involving some of the most powerful people in the world and Pete Hegseth.
I mean, Tell us about the fallout to this, Huey, because you've been monitoring it all.
It's been an extraordinary start to this scandal. And what I will say is that even even in the next few weeks, this is just going to keep going. The first big bit of fallout, of course, was the blame game. And behind closed doors, people pointed to who was to blame. Now, obviously, the first person to blame was Mike Waltz. He's Trump's national security advisor, and he is the man who invited Jeffrey Goldberg into the chat. In a surprising development, of all the people that you would want to investigate what went wrong, he is the man that Trump has said must find out what happened to make sure it doesn't happen again. And he's going to be able to find out what happened because he did it.
It's the shortest investigation that ever took
It's a very
place.
brief investigation. Trump himself was not in this group chat, and I've articulated a theory to both of you before that that you can explain Trump by being a peak boomer, and he has shown a somewhat shaky grasp of what Signal is, what a group chat is, and his own recommendations for solving this problem are that everybody should be in a lead-lined room. Now, the other big bit of fallout has been J.D. Vance. And J.D. Vance was in the group chat, and it revealed that he has some differences in policy and in practice with people also on the group chat and possibly also with Donald Trump. As people are listening to this, if they're listening fresh on Thursday, then J.D. Vance has left the country. Trump has sent him to Greenland along with SLOTUS, where he is at the very far north of Greenland at a space base, inspecting facilities there. We have checked. He has 4G cell service, so Signal is still supported, but it's probably a bit patchier and it might not be so great for the Wi-Fi.
So the person who did it is investigating himself, so that takes 4 seconds, and then he plays Candy Crush for the remainder of the day on his phone and then reports back at the end of the day. Like, what is actually because I watched a bunch of testimony today. So as we're recording this, it's Tuesday evening, and I watched testimony all day on my flight back from abroad. And it seemed to me like there was no recognition of the gravity of the cock up, as one would say, whatsoever. No acknowledgement that it was even confidential material.
Well, it was a very bizarre spectacle because, as you'll know, Sam, two people were sitting beside each other. One was John Ratcliffe,
Yeah.
who's the director of the CIA, and he was in the group chat.
Yeah.
And the other was Tulsi Gabbard. She's the director of national intelligence. And Jeffrey Goldberg believed she was in the group chat because he could see initials that corresponded to hers, but at no point has she confirmed that. So under questioning from senators, John Ratcliffe freely agreed that he was in it, and Tulsi Gabbard said that she would not be disclosing whether she was or not. So it's kind of like Schrodinger's chat. It's both non-existent and secret and true and classified and not classified all at once. It's basically a bit of everything.
I have so many questions, not least, why did Mike Waltz have Jeffrey Goldberg's number? And the assumption has to be that he talks to him, which isn't great for Donald Trump, that his top team are talking to journalists, unless, of course, that is what Donald Trump wants.
Well, Joanna, you've alighted there on a conspiracy theory that's doing the rounds on the outer fringes of MAGA, and that's that Mike Waltz intentionally added Jeff Goldberg to this group chat, and that he is doing it because he himself is a deep stater, and there's nothing worse that you can say in MAGA circles than deep state. So it's not something that anybody has been able so far to address to Mike Waltz as to whether he did it intentionally. No cock-up is complete in Trump world without a conspiracy theory, and already that's swirling around.
It's just layer upon layer, isn't it?
Yeah, he should do an investigation of himself and whether or not he's deep state. I'm not sure he knows. I'm not sure he's
recommend
aware.
that in the group chat, Sam.
Oh, please, somebody invite me to a good group chat, please.
This feels like it has Macbethian qualities of how it will stir his paranoia, that the group of people around him are in fact aligned with each other against him. Their conversation is all taking place in a private space that he has no access to.
And they're talking about him,
Yep.
which is a very unpleasant feeling.
Yeah, this is like every teenager when they are locked out of a group chat, or when when you can see on one of those location devices that all your friends are meeting up, or as Mindy Kaling says, is everybody hanging out and having fun without me?
Can I ask a question? So what is, I guess it can't be known, but what guesses are people taking about why they're having this conversation on Signal in the first place? Like, is this is like a side chat? They don't want this to go into the archive? Is that the thinking? Nobody knows if they're actually logging this conversation in
Yeah,
the
there's
archive,
definitely a
which they
big
could be.
question on archiving there. One of the things that they've said is that Signal was authorized by the Biden administration while they were in office, and Signal disappears messages. So you can set your messages to disappear after a certain period of time, up to a week or up to 4 weeks, and that should give you time to screenshot them and send them to National Archives. But of course, there'd be no way of knowing if you didn't screenshot them and send them whether they ever existed or not. So there's certainly people, Democrats are already voicing that suspicion. The other aspect of this is that they were doing it probably on private phones. Most federally issued phones just can't use Signal at all. So it looks like they were doing it on private phones. And one of them was even doing it in Moscow. Steve Witkoff had flown to Moscow to meet Vladimir Putin, and he took delivery of a portrait of Donald Trump by who was described as Russia's top artist, so far
Right.
unnamed, which he was to take back to DC with him. But as it turns out, maybe Vladimir Putin didn't really need to bug a portrait. He just needed access to the group chat.
This is so unprofessional. Like, I can't even, I mean, I have my own personal theories, and it's hard to imagine that there was a professional in this chat who was screenshotting and, and sending these to the National Archives. So that's something that, we don't,
When Donald Trump's presidential library is open, we
yeah,
can go and find out.
we will go and find out. But even imagining that these people in this chat they're literally dropping bombs. They're literally dropping bombs on human beings. Whatever you think of the human beings that they're dropping, like, that's not the point. It's so serious. It's so it's real life, and it's real death, and they're using emojis in the chat and insulting Europe. It's so embarrassing internationally. It's actually disgusting. It's atrocious.
Do we think this might also be a tipping point, that up until now people have been clearly very scared and nervous about Trump, and you're seeing people go to Mar-a-Lago or the White House to bend the knee, but this exposes what buffoonery is happening at
Right.
such high levels, that this is surely the moment people look behind the curtain and see a little old man instead of the great Wizard of Oz. I wonder if this will be a turning point.
Joanna, you used the word buffoonery. Our brilliant columnist David Rothkopf used another word that begins with F and ends with wittery, and suggested that more and worse is to come. But the thing is, what we saw in the first Trump administration was that when that sort of lack of professionalism was exposed, it became hard for people to take the administration entirely seriously. And one of the tensions that's been over this for Trump is the first administration fell apart quite quickly on the seriousness and the professionalism front. And this time round, one of the most telling moments, as you'll know, is that 3 days before this scandal erupted, Pete Hegseth stood in the Oval Office beside his boss and said, people aren't laughing at us anymore, or people aren't taking us as, we're not being treated like fools anymore. Well, the rest of the world has had an insight, whether they're laughing or not.
This does give serious Republicans the opportunity to say enough already. I mean, let's hope there are some left, but this is insane. It's ridiculous.
Are we
And
imagining
just
that
tell you,
there are
Sam, other people, obviously, on the MAGA world are offering a very different view of this. And what it shows, they say, is not incompetence, but transparency. This shows the thoughtfulness.
There's nothing transparent about using Signal.
it's encrypted?
I'm sure they're being sponsored by Signal.
Yeah.
Well, the White House Easter egg roll is being sponsored, and this is a great opportunity for Signal to get to the people that are super users.
So the Vances have been dispatched to the northern reaches of Greenland. Are they there to signal, if I can use that expression, to Denmark that Donald Trump is serious about buying Greenland? What do we think? Why is this just him taunting Denmark? Of all the countries in the world to taunt, Denmark seems the most extraordinary. What is your interpretation of the Vances being dispatched up there?
Well, this, I was going to say Advance Party, but Vance Party, I suppose. Usha is
so good.
Usha is going to be watching some dog sledding, which, not surprisingly, is a major sport.
Well, I think it's the Avanata Kimmasurasu. How do we pronounce that? Sam, you should know this because you're Canadian.
I've got it. Yeah, we're so similar.
It's the Kimmusesu, I think. Kimmusesu. Anybody? I'm sure there'll be lots of comments on that. Anyway, it's Greenland's national dog sled, and it has about 450 dogs in it.
JD is on his way to more military facilities, and there's no doubt Trump is serious about something here. And the way that Trump has done this, he's previously sent Don Jr., who spoke to locals, who, as it turned out, expressed positivity about becoming part of America. It then transpired that they were in fact homeless and did not represent the mainstream of Greenlandic opinion. In a recent poll, only 5% of people in Greenland were interested in becoming, or 6% were interested in becoming part of the United States. So this is definitely a push to get it on the, I was going to say on the map, but maybe more on the agenda for people in Greenland. It's also definitely a message to Denmark, and sending JD Vance seems a bit pointed now because he really is the anti-European in Trump circles. And this is kind of taking advantage of that group chat and making clear that this anti-European is going to go and, present the case for Greenland becoming America.
Sam's got an abominable snowman on her desk going on.
Oh
there.
my
Looks
God.
like a Yeti, half
A
cat,
Yeti.
half Yeti.
Yeah, a Yeti just came onto my desk. This is so well, Usha was
They
supposed
have
to go.
no Yetis in Greenland that we know of.
She was supposed to go without JD, and then
Yes.
he accompanied her. Can you?
He's a late addition.
He's a late addition. No surprise.
One thing worth pointing out is that after this extraordinary story emerged, JD was amazingly quiet on Twitter. He is a fanatical poster on X, I should say, the platform formerly known as Twitter. And he maintained a long silence, which is very unusual for him. And then surfaced saying that he was next off to Greenland.
Dear.
Imagine those breakfast conversations, though. If I was Usha Vance, if I was Slotus, I would be like, you are coming on this trip. I don't care. Whatever the president wants, you are coming with, because I'm not fielding questions about your tomfoolery.
This is not why Usha Vance got her Gates Scholarship to Cambridge. I mean, you think of all the education that Usha Vance has got to end up as Slotus going to attend dog sled races in Greenland. That's not why she got the Gates Scholarship.
No, it is not. No, it is not. Oh, dear. Are we expecting any consequences after this? None?
So far, I think very unlikely, but keep an eye on what happens with Mike Waltz and how serious these questions about him being from the deep state are. Because if there's any vulnerability, it's him. And Jeff Goldberg, like any good journalist, is not betraying his sources, but there's deep suspicion about Mike Waltz among some people in MAGA. So if there's anything that makes him vulnerable, this could be it. Trump said he's a good man and he made a mistake, but votes of confidence from Trump are rather like the stock market. The value can go down as well as up.
Hugh, thank you so much for keeping us up to date with what on earth is going on.
It's a pleasure. I will see you both in the secret chat.
Yep, we will.
Can't wait.
Be tuning in. We will be tuning in regularly to the secret chat, Huey. Thank you very much.
Thank you both.
Welcome back. We're now joined by the former Fox News host, the host of The Revolution with Steve Hilton, who is a former political advisor to David Cameron, the former UK Prime Minister, and he's the author of several books, but a new book based on his passion for California, and it's called Califailure. Okay, Steve Hilton, I'm so excited to have you on the Daily Beast podcast. I'm excited for you to meet Sam B. I'm excited to talk about your book, so much excitement. And obviously, we want your POV on the Signalgate scandal of the week, as you are close to Donald Trump. In fact, you even bought a cell phone so that Donald Trump could contact you. Am I right? Because you used to resist a cell phone. You used to resist it.
It's all wrong, but it is relevant. We can get into that. But first of all, I'm not at all excited. I'm very annoyed with you because I came to New York for one reason only, which is to be with both of you in the studio and do the podcast together. And you sold it to me like it would be this amazing time. And now here we are. You're in California, by the way, like where I'm here. So totally disproving the whole thesis of my book, which is that you're leaving California. You're actually going to California. Sam's just back from Paris. I mean, what is this?
I know, it's ridiculous.
You're also going to have to persuade me as I sit in San Francisco. The sun is shining, the sky is fantastic, the bay is beautiful, that we're living through Califailure, because I'm dying to move here.
Okay, first of all, I need to start this by getting some context for the two of you, because the two of you know each other and you've known each other for a long time. So please tell me, what is your origin story? How are we all connecting today?
Steve, can you even remember how we met?
Not really. Probably you're drunk in some pub somewhere, but because that's how British people basically exist.
We all know each other. Yeah, we all know each other.
You all worked at Marks and Spencer together at some point.
We sort of did. We sort of did. We actually met. I remember very well because I was so excited to meet you because I'd read about you, and also I'd seen the most brilliant Armando Iannucci parody of you in the brilliant television show The Thick of It. So I was fascinated by you. We met at the White House Correspondents brunch held by the great Tammy Haddad, who's a super connector, and she immediately put us together, and then we just couldn't stop talking. My memory is we talked for the rest of the weekend non-stop.
That's exactly right. But the other thing we should say on the, continuing to advance the thesis that all British people basically know each other, is that one of my best friends at university was one of your earliest colleagues in journalism in England, and so I'd been hearing about you forever. And ever since we moved to America, our mutual friend Ian Katz was saying, "Oh, you must meet Joanna. Have you met?" In fact, it wasn't Joanna; it was Colsey, I believe, because that's how British people.
These are state secrets. We really need to be in the Signal group to discuss this. That's true.
But then everyone will know if you put it in the Signal group.
Yeah, Steve, when are you inviting us to your Signal group? And
how many secret Signal groups have you got?
Well, so, okay, now let's get to the phone thing. So the sort of big lie that you told was that the only reason I got a phone was to communicate with the president. But actually, it is relevant to this Signal thing because when I used to work in 10 Downing Street as senior advisor to the Prime Minister, I remember getting the security briefing as new members of staff. And it's 2010, so a long time ago. And I remember them saying that you got to assume that your smartphone is being hacked and listened to all the time. You just got to assume that. And whatever they tell you about the security on the phone or the apps or this or that, foreign hostile powers can get into your phone. And I remember them specifically giving this example of how it is possible to remotely take over a smartphone and turn it into a listening device for the room that you're in, even when it's turned off, blah, blah, and on like this. And then they said, but the only phone that they really can't get into is an old-fashioned flip phone, which is the one that I happen to have. I had an old Nokia. I never got a smartphone. And then when we moved to America in 2012, they didn't make them anymore. I had to hand in my government phone. And so for years, I didn't have any kind of phone at all. And then finally, I relented. And this is my phone, my very Signal-friendly flip phone. Here you are. That is the phone that I now have. And so for me, this whole Signal thing is not really about Signal. It's about the fact that basically you can't trust the security on a smartphone. So that's the issue. If you really want to keep things secret, don't communicate by smartphone.
Yes. So we have an issue in our country right now, and it is roiling me. And I want to know how you're reflecting on that today, because I watched all that testimony. It really did not meet the moment, I felt, like at all. Like it didn't even come close to meeting the moment. So I wonder how you're reflecting on all of this. You probably know a lot of these people. Just what is your baseline?
Well, truthfully, I didn't see the testing because I've been on, it's literally the publication day for my book. So I'm afraid I've been nonstop talking rather than listening or watching anything else. But I do think that, it's very clear that this should never have happened. It was a mistake. I don't understand how it happened. I mean, clearly someone added someone to a chat. I mean, I don't know how it works because I don't use Signal. I've never used Signal. I don't even have a smartphone. But the fact that it happened was a kind of big mistake. And I don't know if where they are on that, whether they've acknowledged that. I know that they've confirmed that it was real. They're not pretending that it didn't happen. Even Joe, the one thing I did see this morning on Morning Joe was Goldberg himself, who broke the story, of course, in the Atlantic. And he said that the one thing he was encouraged by was at least they're having a real conversation about this stuff. And that's the sort of plus point for him from the whole thing. I think they're obviously going to investigate. I think they're reviewing all this. I don't know. I'm afraid I haven't been following it closely.
Oh, Joanna, go ahead. Jump in, Joanna.
I was going to ask you, Steve, several members of the president's cabinet were Fox News hosts. I was expecting you to be at some point nominated for a cabinet position because you had your Sunday night slot, which we know the president very much enjoyed, The Revolution with Steve Hilton on Fox. Is that something you would enjoy, being a cabinet minister?
I mean, there may be a position becoming available within the next couple of days, and I would certainly think that should probably happen.
National security is not my expertise.
I don't think that matters. I really don't think that matters.
I don't think it was their expertise.
Not an issue.
Either.
Not an issue.
Yeah, maybe it's actually compulsory. I don't know. I think that look, the truth is that I've done various things, right? In my career, I've worked in politics and government, and I've started businesses. I've run restaurants. I've done a bunch of different things. And more recently, I've worked in the media. But the true line really is that I'm very interested in the practical aspects of politics and policy and just doing things and making change happen. And that's what we were trying to do back in the day in the Cameron government, not always with great success, but you learn a lot from that as well. And so it's definitely true that I would love to be in a position to make things happen.
Well, your book couldn't come at a better time, Califailure, obviously after the catastrophic fires earlier this year and all the questions about education in California, about homelessness, about the water situation. And my assumption from the book is that you're planning to run as governor. You've certainly been posting as if that might be in your future. And you've recently been posting with Nicole Shanahan, who, as we know,
Yes.
really spearheaded RFK from his own party to Health and Human Services. So explain to us a little bit about your own political situation and then
Yeah.
talk to us about what the solve is for California, especially around homelessness.
Yeah. Okay. So look, I mean, for the last few years, I've had this very unexpected career in the media. I totally didn't plan on it, didn't expect it. Appreciate the platform very much. But as time went on, I got more and more frustrated with just sort of talking about things. Going back to what I was saying earlier, I'm used to actually doing things. And so a couple of years ago, I started an organization called Golden Together, which is a non-political organization, policy focused, looking at California policy, because I just wanted to really get more into that. And I've been traveling the state and doing those things. And as that has gone on, yes, I have got more and more interested and focused on the idea of actually trying to do something about it by running for office, running for governor. So that is definitely something I'm strongly considering. Kamala Harris tells us that she's almost the same term, that she's strongly considering that, and that she's going to make a decision by the end of the summer. I'm going to make a decision much sooner than that. And the real, not to be too coy about it, but the reason I'm not quite there yet is that you've got to be sure that I'd want to do it in order to win, not just to, make a point. And there's a lot of elements to that you've got to have a plan for what you do, how you solve these problems. I think, that's what I've mainly been working on. But you've also got to have the support, especially the financial support, and to know that you can really do it properly. So still working on that. But yeah, I know I'm really seriously looking at it. And I think that people are ready for the change. I mean, that's why Nicole is interesting, because Nicole is, she started off as a Democrat. Obviously, her political journey is well known, but she's an independent now. She's not a Republican. But she and I very much aligned on a lot of the issues, but also our love for California and how amazing it is. I still think there's nowhere better than California, but it's obvious it's going off the rails. I mean, you just look at the the data, like we have the highest rate of poverty, the highest housing cost, the lowest home ownership, the highest unemployment for most of last year. Right now, we're the second highest unemployment. I mean, on and on. The highest prices for electricity, gas, water, everything. The worst business climate, according to Chief Executive Magazine. So it's like really bad. It's a really, bad failure on every front, and obviously in need of a turnaround. And I think a lot of people, not just Republicans, especially after the fires in LA, I'm there a lot. And you hear people who say, I've been a Democrat, but we can't go on like this. It's time for change.
Well, I guess my question is in terms of governance,
Yeah.
how do you see yourself? Because you have deep friendships with people who are very aligned with Donald Trump, his administration. Lots of people are touch points for you. I mean, I don't know you personally, but I see it in your work and interviews and the people that you attend fundraisers, and they are governing through pure chaos. I mean, from my view, federal employees are being terrorized, threats, intimidations, these crazy Signal, this impossible situation with Signal. Are you the type of person who thinks that you need to break a bunch of eggs to make an omelet? Like, is that what we would expect?
Yeah, are you taking a chainsaw to California?
It's a great question. I think remember that back although it's known as the Cameron administration, David Cameron was the prime minister for the Conservative Party leader, it was a coalition government. And in fact, I helped put together the coalition agreement between the Conservative Party and the Liberal Democrat Party. And in fact, I shared an office in 10 Downing Street with my counterpart, Polly McKenzie. You may know her, Joanna. And we had a really constructive working relationship, trying to, in a way, I mean, I remember Nick Clegg, who is the deputy prime minister, leader of the Liberal Democrats, and Cameron, they used to sort of talk about me and Polly as the kind of glue that kept the coalition together, because we really did find a way to work on stuff together. So that definitely would be my approach. And it's the only way, I think, in California, because, as I say, most of the levers of power right now are controlled by Democrats.
Well, and one of your points in the book, which I find so interesting, is that this is the result of unchallenged democratic rule in California. And you talk about the isms and this sort of extremism and the obsession with focusing on cultural issues that don't actually have anything to do with the issues that really impact people's lives. Do you think that if Kamala Harris is your opponent, she will stay in that territory, or do you think she will become more moderate?
Well, she already tried that in the presidential election, because the minute that she became the nominee, she was immediately ditching the previous positions that she'd held, which in the previous positions were very much in line with where California is today, the kind of extreme end of those issues. And she'd already tried to ditch that. The question is it believable, and would she be capable of actually making the change? I don't know. I mean, that would be the argument that you'd have.
I actually think of Kamala Harris as being pretty moderate. I think she kind of comes right down the center. I mean, okay, I do. This is a very fundamental question to me. I'm like, when you reflect on what Doge is doing right now, would you stop them? I mean, I know that's not quite the job we're talking about, but do you appreciate that kind of just like running in there, making wild slashes, and then stepping away and going like, oh, gee, I wonder what happened, like picking up all the pieces? That's really hard. It's hard for me to understand, because I do understand the perspective of people. There are so many people in California who did everything right, who saved and worked hard, and they just want to have a pension waiting for them. They just want to have Social Security waiting for them. And they really don't want to imagine that Elon Musk, someone they don't know, someone they didn't elect, is going into Social Security and dicking around with a bunch of 20-year-olds. Like, how do you reflect on those? I mean, we're just like in a moment. And I think it's important to delineate where you stand on those things.
So I think that let's just take a few steps back. In California, I think one of the underlying problems of everything, whether that's housing, homelessness, energy, water, the cost of everything, is the fact that the government and the bureaucracy has just become too big and bloated. There's no question about that. If you look at the layers of crap that people have to wade through. Just, you talk to a restaurant owner about what it's actually like to run a restaurant or a bar. I mean, just the local bureaucracy, county, state, I'm just the other day talking to a lady who runs a pest control company, in the Sierras, and she's just describing her life of how much nonsense she has to go through in terms of reporting to the state pesticide control board, and then each county she operates in, 9 counties. And I say, oh, you have to do that every year. So no, every month they have to send in reports, all with a different format. All, some can be uploaded, others have to be paid, blah, blah, blah. You talk to someone who owned a winery, an independent winery in wine country. She's telling me that she tried to get a permit she increased her patio, the number of guests she can have, from 30 to 50. It took her 6 years and $1 million in lawyers' fees and consultants and all this kind of stuff. So I think the goal of reducing bureaucracy and just the sheer kind of hassle of dealing with government in all its forms is a really big central goal. But I do agree that you have to do it in a systematic way, but you have to do it. And there are opponents of that. There are the people who say, well, we have to continue with this process because we're protecting this, or we're guaranteeing that, or securing whatever. And you just have to be direct with that. But I definitely think that it's got to be done in an orderly way, if that's what you're asking. But I think it's got to be done.
So, Steve, for people who aren't going to read your book, or who are nevertheless interested in your potential run for office, what would your slogan be?
Well, I think there's a line in it's very simple: restore the California dream. In a way, I mean, that's the mission of Golden Together. It's on our website there, and it's pretty basic stuff, which is what people want and what they think of as the California dream, just regular people, which is a good job that pays enough to raise your family in a home of your own, in a safe neighborhood with a good school, so your kids have a better life than you did. That is the aspiration. And especially when you talk to immigrant communities in California, it's like really, really basic stuff. That's what they thought they were signing up for when they come to California. And that sort of ladder of opportunity, all the rungs have been taken away. It's just the taxes you pay. We have this, as I said, the second highest unemployment. It's hard to get a good job. Businesses are leaving. If you have a job, you pay so much in taxes. If you add it all up together, not just income tax, but gas tax and all that stuff, right? Sales taxes. It's impossible for regular people to buy a home. I mean, the median house price is like $1 million. And so I think you just got to go through one after another, those practical things, not ideological, just like, how do you get people in that place where they really feel like they're living the dream? Because that is the kind of beautiful thing about California. Just, it's such an amazing place to live if you can get those basics right.
I was going to ask you to tell us more about your potential lieutenant governor, I'm assuming, with Nicole Shanahan. Tell us more about it. Oh, well, she's an intriguing character. And the irony is that you're talking about helping regular people, but you and your wife are well-known, or your wife is a well-known tech executive. You've both done very well in California, and yet you need to bring in people to help you run. And obviously, Nicole Shanahan, we've written about her and a lot at the Daily Beast, was married to one of the co-founders of Google. So she got a handsome divorce settlement from that. What is she like to run with? Is she able to understand the issues that you're talking about in terms of the regular person?
Oh, look, there's no, we had that conversation on the podcast, but that's not, you shouldn't read anything into that in terms of her intention. She did make clear that she's not running for governor. So that's what she said. But I think that, first of all, on the point about, money and so on, I mean, I think that the thing that really kind of, I feel very strongly about in respect of California is just the way that the real victims of the policy agenda we've seen are working class people. And that is something I really do identify with, because my parents are Hungarian. They were immigrants into the UK. They were like, my stepdad worked construction. My mum worked in a shoe store. I really remember what it was like to have no money. And we had that immigrant aspiration story in our family. And I ended up going to Oxford University and working in 10 Downing Street. And now I'm here, do you know what I mean? So that's something I think is really precious. And I take it very seriously. And I think with Nicole, there's a similar story. We really connected over that. We only met recently, actually. we've got friends in common. Jay Bhattacharya, for example, who now is running NIH. So we were introduced and we got talking. And actually, there's a lot of issues where we really see eye to eye, particularly that whole set of issues around food and farming. In fact, I gave her a copy of a book that I wrote 10 years ago, More Human. The subtitle was Designing a World Where People Come First. And if you look at the chapters in More Human 10 years ago on food and health, it's basically what people think of as the MAGA agenda now that really came to prominence during the recent election campaign. So I think that there's a lot of common ground there. And then particularly the thing we're working on together now is the recall of Karen Bass in LA.
Okay, well, President Trump and many MAGA members have vocally stated that federal fire aid should have strings attached. How does that help the state? How does that help rebuild it? How does that help rebuild?
I think what they're driving at, if you look at the members of Congress who particularly strongly argued that, like Kevin Kiley, for example, who's a California member of Congress, I think we've been really out front on that. But also Rick Grenell has been very strong, who the president has appointed as, I don't know exactly what the title is, but, helping to coordinate the federal end of whatever's done to help Los Angeles. They make the point that actually there's been a lot of money wasted in the past. And that's true. I mean, even the California audit, of homelessness spending showed that, $24 billion, they couldn't keep track of where it went. During the pandemic, $30 billion completely lost to fraud in the Employment Development Department. And so the argument, I think, is not that you don't want the money to flow. You just want to make sure it goes to the right purposes. It doesn't end up in the California bureaucracy, which has a track record of losing or wasting money.
But is now the time to make cuts to FEMA?
I haven't thought about that at all. I don't. I mean, that's a federal. I'm really focused on California.
I guess so. But there's just the message. I don't know. I don't know.
The argument. I mean, as far as I understand it, I don't know if it's been articulated in anything other than a response to a question. Is to a bit like with the education department, to return FEMA, both the financial aspects and the management aspects, to the states. I think that's the argument, rather than cutting it, just redistributing it. But I don't actually know if they've articulated that as a policy.
There is so much to discuss here, and I know that you have a book to go off and celebrate. What is the next step for you as you plan your campaign?
Well, a little bit like I was saying earlier, is just to make sure before pushing the button that the support is there to really do it properly. That's honestly the final step. But it's obvious I'm very interested in this. I've been working hard on it, and I think that I'm close to a decision, but not there yet. And it's all about making sure that we can do it really well.
And can I borrow your flip phone, because I have some things I'd like to say to some key members of the Trump administration.
Very good. Yes, anytime.
It's like a 5-point plan, 5 to 50 points I'd love to make while I still have the chance.
I think you can do that. We can arrange that. The other thing I'm very sad we didn't talk about is your I loved your Kanye in the elevator, no shoes story.
Oh, that's right, Joanna.
Yeah, it was true. You would have pursued him, Steve. You would have run after him and introduced yourself.
One of the things that my kids and most my sons, which you've met, Joanna, most mortified by was the moment at Burbank Airport where I tried to board a flight with not wearing shoes, and they wouldn't let me on. And we had this endless argument, and I got in, and it's like, I don't like bureaucracy. They're saying, well, you're not allowed to get on the plane, and it was just ridiculous.
I'm sorry. You tried to board a plane without shoes? That is actually internationally illegal, and should be. That's actually forbidden on this planet. No one should be shoeless on planes. I agree with that.
That Steve is always being thrown off public transport for arguing with the conductor on the train or whatever. It's actually one of the qualities
not allowed.
I admire about you most. I've also been thrown off public transport. Steve, I find you one of the most thoughtful people around policy, and I'm fascinated to know whether or not you could get elected and whether or not you can have a good run. But I'm very conscious you have a book party. Go and celebrate your book and come back and give us updates on your campaign.
Great to see you both. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We're back, and we are thrilled to be joined by this week's beast of the week, Amber Ruffin. Amber is currently one of the hosts of CNN's Have I Got News for You, and previously hosted her own late night talk show, The Amber Ruffin Show, which was on Peacock. Amber also serves as a writer on Late Night with Seth Meyers, and she'll be the featured comedian at the upcoming White House Correspondents' dinner. What are you doing to prepare?
What? Freaking out, buddy.
Freak out
It's
time.
time to freak out. No, I mean, I am, I have my Google Docs open at all times for throwing jokes in there and little thoughts I'm having. But I can't help but to be like, because we're a little ways out,
Yeah.
right? News is happening at such a freaking clip that
Yeah.
how are we supposed to hit this moving target? Also, like, how could you forget any of this stuff happened? You know what I mean? So
You're
it's
gonna
tough.
have to write the whole thing that afternoon.
That afternoon.
There's no
And do
oh,
you,
God.
Amber, do you expect the president to show?
No, I don't. But I just honestly don't think it's an important thing to him in any way.
It was important to him in 2011 when he got teased mercilessly during the Obama years. I mean, many people say that was the ground zero for him deciding to run for president, although I can't help believing that Donald Trump knew from the age of 5 that he wanted to be president.
But he took over the whole Kennedy Center, so he doesn't need to come to the Correspondents' dinner anymore. He can just have like WWE in the most beautiful space where it's all that beautiful craftsmanship and woodworking is, and they can break the beautiful organ or whatever.
Ha
is-
ha. How cool would that be? It'd be a little cool. It'd be a little
A-
cool. to have
just a
Kennedy
little
Center
cool.
wrestling. I wouldn't go, but I would watch TikToks of it.
I would watch the clips after. I would watch the clips as they oil up all those beautiful, old, refined herringbone parquet floors.
Oh,
Sorry. In my version, everybody's oiled up.
To walk in, you have to get oiled up.
Yeah, you do. Now you
Yeah.
do.
It's a slippery place.
Well, maybe you could do that for the White House Correspondents, just change it up this year.
Oh my goodness. Oh God. Okay, so will anyone from the administration be attending? How much do you actually know about who will be in attendance? Do you get like the rundown?
I'm sure that I will at some point.
will.
I
Okay.
know the news organizations that will be
Yeah.
attending. I don't think the people confirm until quite a bit later. I don't necessarily I'm not 100% interested in being like, ha, you're here. Look at your stupid head. You're burned. I care you're kind of a bunch of murderers. I mean, so they were like, you need to be, equal and make sure that you give it to both sides and blah, blah, blah. I was like, there's no way I'm going to be freaking doing that, dude. Under no circumstances.
When you as a performer, like when you have like a live performance that you're doing for the people who are there, and are you doing it more, it's for the cameras or it's for the people in the room? And how do you make, I don't know, is that just an organic process of figuring out
It's a
who
tough,
you're
it's a tough room, right? It's a
It's
big room. It's
terrible room.
3,000 people in the Hilton Ballroom in Washington, which
Mhm.
is hard to command. And then you've got the audience, the television audience.
Yeah, it's never great to do both, especially in a bad environment like that. And they say it's a bad audience. And sometimes that's true, but sometimes it's not. They're certainly poorly mic'd for sure, times 1,000. Everyone I've talked to said it feels a lot better than it looks.
Right.
So that makes me feel hopeful. But also, it's just a horrible room. It's a bad room for comedy. It's not great.
Right.
High ceilings, warm. The last thing you want. Thousands of people far, far back. It's not ideal. But I do think there will be a sense of what the hell are we doing?
Yeah.
It's bonkers that we're
Yeah.
still acting like things are normal. I don't know. We're all going on this roller coaster, right? You spend 5 minutes hey, we've had worse. Then you turn a corner and you're like, no, this is as bad as it will ever be. Nothing is this bad. So
Yeah.
I'm glad to be on that roller coaster with you guys.
Is it? I mean, did they actually say to you that you need to go after both sides equally?
What they said is that they had had people bring it up in the past how uneven the comedy was.
Because usually the comedy is directed at whoever is the president at the time. So even when you went to the Obama White House Correspondents' dinner, which he did attend, there were tons of jokes about him, and he was probably more aligned with the media than any other most recent president.
Yeah, I think it's just that burns on Trump hurt badly. And then it trickles down to everyone who's around him, because y'all also guilty. So I think they got their feelings hurt. And they want that false equivalency that the media does. They want that. It feels great. It makes them feel like human beings. But they
Yes.
shouldn't get to feel that way because they're not.
Some people are more culpable than others.
That's right.
And they get more jokes made about them, and the jokes are meaner because they're doing things that are worse.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways. That's how that goes. It can't be even. It
Yeah,
actually
I don't see
can't.
how you could do it
It can't be
without
even-handed.
then becoming a part of what's wrong,
Yeah.
you know? So
Yeah.
talk to me in 5 minutes when I'll be like, oh, we have to stick together. Who knows how I'll feel.
I picture this being maybe the drunkest year ever. Like, I think that I've only gone once in my life. I've never hosted or anything like that. I went one time, and I've never seen more drunk journalists in one place. Like, it was incredible, actually. I'm sure you've been. Have you been lots
I've
of
never been.
times? You've
I've
never
never been.
been.
No.
You never have been. Okay. Well,
Okay, well, I have many years to dispense because I've
Joanna's
been
been
endlessly
there.
for the last 10 years probably, or 15 years
People-
Tell me
possibly.
everything.
People get wasted beyond imagining.
People do get very drunk because the dinner itself is 4 hours long. So it's incredibly long. So people have nothing else to do. They're talked out. There's endless cocktail parties before the actual dinner. It takes forever to get into the room.
I saw a man throwing up like violently into the potted plants in the hotel lobby where I was staying. Violently, and so many people getting kicked out. Like, so many. Everyone.
But to me, I grew up in the north of England. That was a regular Saturday night.
Okay,
I saw
all
that
right.
all the time. That's nothing to do
Okay.
with journalism, to be fair.
It's just
mean,
free drinks. It's
If
just
you
free
walk down,
drinks.
if you walk down any high street in Oslo, in Norway, you will also see that. That's just a Northern
I
European
guess
thing.
it's just free drinks for hardworking people
That's right.
who are in a state of total chaos and in many ways persecution. They're like, I'm getting my fill tonight.
That's right. They deserved it. They earned these drinks.
They did.
I want them to each get messier than the last.
Yeah. Joanna, what was the funnest one you ever went? What's the best one that you've went to, that you've gone to, attended?
I was going to say, actually, for the most part, there's always a sort of report that says, oh, the comedian was a disaster, it didn't work. But when you're in the room, I've always found them to work. So I loved Michelle Wolf. I loved Larry Wilmore. Those are the two that I remember the most. I loved Obama doing it with his mic drop. And I've always actually shamefully, because I've never met a party I don't want to go to.
That's true.
I've always enjoyed them because you come across people you haven't seen. It's like a crash course. It's a weekend crash course. By the end of it, you are exhausted. I remember coming back on a train once with Mindy Kaling after it, and the two of us were just hysterically laughing because we were so tired. We'd been up for 48 hours, and the man sitting opposite us just slammed his bag on the table and told us to shut up. So it's sort of one of those weekends where you get giddy with having talked to people. But obviously at the core of it is something very important, which is journalists' ability to write about what's going on in the White House. And we come out a period when we had a group of White House correspondents who couldn't write about what was going on in the White House, which was that the president was not entirely competent, which we then saw fall out at the debate. And now we have a White House where they don't want the press, or there's certainly independent press, in the room at all.
No, they
So
just
it's-
call them up. They call them up on Signal. They just give them
Well,
the story. By
that's
included, they
true.
just include them. They don't need
That's
to.
true.
They don't
That's
need to
such
call
a
them in.
suspicious story, isn't it? How Jeffrey Goldberg was there in the first place. But Amber, I'm very curious about how you think of it through the lens of comedy. I mean, there's so much that is so serious right now. Is comedy the only thing left? to help us interpret this?
I feel like comedy is
I'm
so
putting on my
comedy.
glasses. Weird.
Oh,
I'm like,
so drunk.
I'm so.
Already so drunk. She's in her house. She can be however she wants.
She's got funny little French frames with her, the French glasses she's brought back. She's trying to look like we're on that show Apostrophe.
That's right. Very
Oh,
important. No, comedy. Comedy is going to save us, Amber. It's going to be you.
Yeah, I think it might just be down to Amber Ruffin.
You.
The
I'm
one
gonna
you
try
have
my
You're the one.
correspondence.
You do it.
I do love laughing about things when they get terrible. I feel like that's definitely a Black thing. It's certainly a Ruffin thing. And it's definitely my thing. Is when things get really terrible to be like, I can't believe this. You can't help it. You can't help
Right.
but to laugh.
The show. Okay, have I got news for you? It's
Hey.
a great show. Good segue to talking about the show. Does the show help you process what you're? Is it like, I don't know. It is good. And I miss talking to people about, like a Joanna and I do it now once a week. But I do kind of miss that daily breakdown of,
Yeah.
like, it is nice to talk to people who see the world through that kind of chaotic, weird lens. It's helpful in a way. Is it helpful to you?
It feels great.
Right.
It's a special added element because we would get the news breakdowns and we'd get
Yeah.
setups and we'd write punchlines. I'm saying would, but I still do. But what happens at Have I Got News for You is you just come in knowing what you know, and then you get quizzed on the rest of it. So
Right.
you have to find out in real time while people are looking at you horrible things that have happened. So
Oh,
then they know how dumb you are. And they know that you know a little too much about XYZ, but also your honest reactions come through. And that's all comedy is just, if this man does this again, I'll scream. And then the inevitable scream of it. That's basically all comedy is.
right.
You've had I mean, obviously your co-captain or your opposite captain is Michael Ian Black, who writes a wonderful column for the Daily Beast. We love him. How do you get on with the sort of straighter conservative politicians that you've had on as the straight people?
Really terribly. I mean, I'm fun and I'm nice, but I'm old. You don't be coming around me with this bullshit. Because I didn't invite them there. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, if I had invited them there, I'd be like, hey, this is my house. Welcome. But I don't have to do anything but stay Black and die. So I'm going to act however I was going to act to begin with. So I feel also like they don't mind it. Like, no one's saying, hey, make sure to be nice. They don't care. They're like, hey, rip it up. Bang, bang, bang. So I just act as a surprise to no one, exactly how I want to 100% of the time. And it's fine. They
That's
don't care.
great.
And also, no one's dumb enough to be running up in there talking about, you gotta blah, blah, blah. I wish somebody
Right.
would.
Right. Oh,
So,
You look like you're having enormous fun. I did
you
the show
do.
last season and I just had the best fun. Roy Wood is hilarious as
Roy's
the
great.
moderator. Michael in Black is great. You're fantastic. It's
you had
just
a really good episode. You did really good.
well, that's nice for you. All I remember is my face was aching from laughing because you actually film it for 2 hours and then the actual show itself is edited down. But I couldn't stop laughing. I found the whole thing so funny.
It's a really funny show. It's such
Yeah.
a good show. Did you go to, the Mark Twain Prize? They just gave out the Mark Twain Prize to Conan O'Brien.
Conan.
Were you there? Do you go to stuff like that? Are you like, sign me up? I gotta be at that thing. Is this the last one ever? Or does it go to Greg?
Girl,
Does it go to Greg Gutfeld next year?
didn't you-
Oh, oh no! Oh no!
that hurt my feelings so bad.
I broke.
Because Sam, you know it will.
I know.
You know it will.
I do know. Oh,
Oh my God, that hurts my feelings so hard.
I'm sorry.
Because he shouldn't have it.
I wish that I could reverse the polarity of the Earth, and I wish that I could reverse time and take back that I said that. Actually,
That's
it-
what you would do.
that's what I would do if
It's
I
worth
was Superwoman.
It's
I
worth
would.
it.
I would do it. I would waste if I had one genie wish. That's what I would waste it on. Taking back that joke.
I was so happy a minute ago.
Oh, no.
But that's what, and that's the gross thing about all of this is we all can do the math. We know that this is going to get worse. Nothing's going to come save us. There aren't, all of the brakes that are in place are failing. It's a runaway train, and it's going to smash everyone in the trolley problem. Somehow it's going to get the 5 people, and it's going to get the person you love. It's smashing us all.
No, comedy is going to save us. I can't let this interview end on such a
Again.
negative note.
You
Amber,
do it,
comedy is
Amber.
going to save
Do
us.
it.
The ability to laugh in all times is going to save us. Listen, best of luck for White House Correspondents. You've got a month to go. I'm sure there will be a lot of news before then.
I cannot wait. I think you're going to kill it.
I think you're gonna kill it too.
I cannot wait to watch.
I guarantee I'll have a blast.
You know what? That's
I'll have
right.
fun, and that's a guarantee.
That is all I need to see.
Thank you very much, Amber. And we will, I'll look forward to seeing you. I'll be in the room. I shall look forward to seeing you.
Okay. Bye. I love you so bad.
Bye.
Bye. I can't wait for her to take that room hostage.
I love Amber Ruffin. You know what? When people are having fun doing the thing that they love to do, that is when the audience loves it the most. And
Yeah, it's
she
true.
is just authentically a person who seeks to have a good time when she's doing her work. And I think that's why she, I don't know, for me, truly shines. And I just love watching her. I think she'll do a great job. And she will meet this moment, and then there will be only bad comedians
From ever,
for a while.
from here on after.
I mean, I don't know. Who knows how they're going to run it? I don't know. Oh, God. I can't believe I made sentences today. I can't believe it.
I can't believe that we put this together. You came back from France. I'm in California. None of this makes sense. But we managed to put it together, and we should just thank people for listening if they have been. If they haven't, they should be subscribing to the Daily Beast. It's very straightforward, dailybeast.com.
Yes. Keep sending those emails. Please, would you please send us emails to beastpod@thedailybeast.com
Or
or
comment on YouTube.
comment on YouTube. Joanna, have you been
I
responding?
have been
to
back.
com-
I've been back at it.
Oh, no. Joanna's going to evolve longer, more slender fingers
Yeah.
to type more efficiently.
I do it late at night, which is probably the worst possible thing.
There's
But
nothing is more restful. Nothing puts you into a deeper slumber than responding to
just-
150 YouTube comments.
yeah, well, there's more than that now. Actually, what's interesting is when you get into an exchange with someone, it's all very interesting.
Oh my God. Well, I hope everyone likes my sweater this week, and that my cat's butthole was in the camera many times during our recording.
I think
So,
and do we want to tell people what your cat is called?
her name is Susan Collins, and that is because it makes me laugh every time I say it. Susan Collins. She's very cute. All right. Do we have to? We have more things to say.
We only have one more thing to say.
Okay,
Is
I'll
your
say it.
sign out line.
Oh my God. Everybody, listen. Times are rough. The world is a crazy place. And if there's one thing that we can all do to improve the world that we live in, it's to, in the words of my muse, get out there and just be best.
We really need to be beast.
We could also be beast. We could be beast.
Sam, you're a beast.
We should have a section of this called Beast Mode. And it's just,
We should.
I don't know what it is, but it'd be
I
funny.
would say that I think you're in beast mode today. I think coming back,
What?
I'm amazed you were allowed back into the country. First, let's just give a little dance to the gods of global entry that you sailed through without being arrested.